To surprise or move us with fantastic movies, there's Disney. And I say this because of the recent movie Encanto, which if you've already seen the movie, you'll know that in the end, it wasn't very enchanting. So to speak, since the heroine of this movie ended up without any power, even though she saved her family. And thanks to her, they regained their powers. What an injustice, don't you think? But don't go so fast, because in fact, Mirabel did get her power. Do you want to know what it is? Then keep watching this video. At the end of the movie, the little house that seemed lost from the Madrigal family managed to rebuild itself. And Bruno, who was the outcast of the family, managed to reunite and live together. Everything seemed like a happy ending. But the question that arises after all this is, why didn't Mirabel receive her power in the end? After everything she did for her family, she deserved it 100%, but at least I believe that Mirabel did receive her gift. And I don't necessarily mean a power of friendship or family, although that is also important. Rather, I think her power has to do with an authentic ability that no one else in her family possessed. But to really understand what the heck all this is about, we have to look more closely at all the clues that are given to us throughout the movie. We must keep in mind that the main element for all this power and the magic house to be possible has to do with the candle. This is the source of everything. The candle is placed on a shelf in the magic house and has not been extinguished since its creation. Which boils down to this simple candle being equal to the magic that everyone in the family possesses. Which means that if you are part of the Madrigal family by blood, you end up receiving some kind of gift or talent when you reach a certain age. And the other thing we need to clarify and understand is how the candle was created or where the heck it came from. If you've already seen the movie, you'll know that the first appearance of the candle was when Grandma Alma had just lost her husband, Pedro Madrigal, who had to sacrifice himself to save his children. Meanwhile, Grandma Alma was all sad and crying for the departure of her life partner through a prayer. The candle came to life. In the movie, we are not given a clear explanation of how exactly the candle came to life. The grandmother simply called this a miracle, but some speculated that the candle could have come from some angel or celestial being. But the more we delve into the deep themes of this movie, the more we realize that in reality, the candle came from the grandmother and her husband Pedro. Because just pay attention and realize that the main concepts that revolve throughout the plot of this movie are hope, unity, family, and love. Being a united family that supports each other in difficult times gives them that unbreakable power. So, with this, I believe the candle was created by the sacrifice made by the grandmother's husband, Pedro, along with the prayer of distress that the grandmother made when she lost him. And it was here when that miracle of hope arose were both necessary for the miracle of the candle to occur. Pedro, if we put it in a metaphor, served as the hope. And the grandmother put her faith in the prayer, and so together they created the miracle for their family. But now let's talk about Mirabel. She didn't receive any gift throughout the story. And one important thing that is presented to us in the movie is that the grandmother begins to become dependent on the gifts that her relatives possess. And she pressures family members to be their own gift instead of being themselves. Isabella feels that she has to be perfect all the time, and Luisa feels overwhelmed with all the work left to her because of her super strength. And it's through this family breakdown that we see the little house start to crumble. At this point, we don't clearly know what the reason is for everything falling apart. We are only shown that darkness is beginning to threaten the family, and because of this, everyone starts to feel hopeless. Mirabel is the one who always manages to raise hope in the family, even when her grandmother dismisses her. Mirabel is a key element, as she also provides the physical part of faith. Just like the grandmother's prayer, when she helped restore the little house with manual labor, along with the help of the community. But what does this have to do with the creation of the candle and Mirabel's power? Well, Pedro provided hope to his wife and family at a very critical and dark time. His sacrifice was the reason his wife and children could live. And the grandmother created the physical prayer out of desperation, so the hope that Pedro offered combined with her prayer, which ultimately caused the candle to emerge, completely changing her life and situation. It gave her the power to create a delightful small house. But what do we mean by this? For someone to be able to create magic of any kind, two qualities are indispensable. The first is the ability to feel or have hope, and the second is to act positively, even when expecting the worst. The magic was created by Pedro's sacrifice and dedication, which enabled the formation of a large family of girls. The word hope is very important to understand the creation of this candle because it directly relates to Mirabel's superpower. We have to be more attentive because apparently the movie made us believe that Mirabel didn't get any gift. But maybe she provided something very important for everyone to save their powers, which was hope, just like Pedro did. Here comes another theory, a bit wild. What if the little house blessed her with the incarnation of the candle? That is, Mirabel was another extension of magic, but in human form, who would be able to interact with her family to protect and preserve everyone's gifts? Because Mirabel tried to instill this part of hope, just as the candle did, even with the distant Bruno. When she found him, she practically had to beg him to look beyond his poor vision. In almost every scene, it was Mirabel who showed a positive attitude, looking at the bright side of everything. She was the first one to start taking steps in a positive direction, even when the grandmother dismissed her. And this was the only time when we saw her hope weaken when she argued with the grandmother. Which of course resulted in the little house cracking and collapsing. The notion that Mirabel is the candle reincarnated. It also explained several unanswered questions, like why was the little house collapsing when she argued with her grandmother? This makes sense, as if Mirabel the candle began to lose hope, it is logical that the house would start to collapse, since the little house depends on the candle for its magic. And let's remember that the little house collapsed when Mirabel felt completely desperate because of her argument. But why give this reincarnation to Mirabel? She lived as a positive girl from a young age and possessed qualities of unity and harmony with her family. For these reasons, the little house decided to grant her the gift of incarnation, and she had no way of knowing and fully showing it. Mirabel was simply everything the family needed. Let's remember that there can be no light without darkness. And it was not until that dark moment in the Madrigal family when Mirabel was able to shine. And for us to realize what this really means. She herself was the gift. Without her, there would be no hope, no candle, no magic. We even learned that she was the most important thing to keep the family together. And because of this great connection she had with the house, it was the reason why it cracked and collapsed when Mirabel felt hopeless. Another important thing that was shown to us in the movie is that each of the characters wears something on their clothes that represents and symbolizes the power they have. Luisa has embroideries on her skirt that represent strength. Isabela wears a layered dress that emits the same vibe as rose petals. Camilo has chameleons on his suit and Bruno has clocks. And what about Mirabel? Mirabel has butterflies everywhere, which symbolizes hope and transformation. That provided and embodied the candle to transform the horrible situation the family was in. And if you're still not completely convinced of this, to prove it even more, there's a butterfly on the candle. The symbolism is literally everywhere. You just have to pay attention. So Mirabel turned out to have more powers than everyone. She was the flame that fueled their powers. But what do you think about this? Do you have other theories about this? Leave them in the comments.